How to Build a Multi-Billion Dollar Business in Africa from Scratch by Strive Masiyiwa, compiled by Geoffrey Tengamba, being read to you by Arnold Rangakuramya. Chapter 9. Modern Management. You still have to work hard, but not that hard. Just be smart and learn the tools of modern management. Does he have a lot of children to help him? I once visited an elderly gentleman who ran one of the most successful supermarkets in my hometown. He was a legend of his time and everyone knew him to be very rich. Knowing that I was keen to learn about business, he invited me to his office to watch him at work. This was a rare privilege and I took it with both hands. He allowed me to ask questions which he answered slowly and carefully. I still remember some of the things. You must work very hard. This was almost every third sentence. He told me he started his day at 4 in the morning. I'm here to open the shop every day, 7 days a week. What time do you leave? 11 p.m. after I have counted the money and done my reconciliations. I do it myself. I don't trust anyone. What about holidays? I asked. I don't do holidays. That is for employed people, he said with an emphatic wave of his hand. I listened. Then I asked, why have you never expanded? You can only be in one place at a time, he answered with finality. I tried it once and they stole from me. I said to him, you know, there is a man I have been reading about from America. He has thousands of stores like yours, and he is one of the richest men in the world. He has so many stores that he cannot visit all of them, and he also goes on holiday. Does he have a lot of children to help him? Actually, no. He works with total strangers. Finally, he sighed and said to me, I wish I had gone to school and learned these modern management techniques that you talk about. We have to learn these things, otherwise we will just end up running small things. I never went to school, but I yearn to learn these things. Only now I am too old and set in my ways. I was deeply saddened because I realized that with his entrepreneurial zeal, armed with the modern tools of management and the right exposure, he could easily have built a Pan-African business. When the old man died, his sons took over the business and ran it to the ground in no time. All was gone. There are a lot of people like him. They work very hard and many long hours. No one told them that there are many modern management tools that can make them more productive and profitable. They can also have a better quality life. You still have to work hard, but not that hard. Just be smart and learn the tools of modern management. Even now, after 29 years in business, I still spend a lot of time reading business management books and articles. I try to learn new techniques that can make me sharper and more productive. It is a continuous process which should never stop. The other day, I said, I'm a numbers guy, and some people even asked, what numbers? It's a business management technique whereby you do not start a business without first developing a business plan with well-researched marketing and financial projections. When you start the business, you must develop budgets and adhere strictly to them. You collect statistics continuously on what is going on in every aspect of your business and use that data to drive your decision making. Manage your way to the top. Ever since I became an entrepreneur, one thing that has fascinated me almost as much as innovations that drive new businesses is the complex management skill required to build large ones. Making a business bigger depends on management expertise. This is something many people do not really appreciate as much as they should. More than 25 years ago, I had a construction business that grew very well for a number of years. I had hired the best qualified people I could find and we had many contracts. Then one day, almost out of nowhere, we started to struggle with cash. We just never seemed to have any money, even though we had big projects. I struggled to understand what was going on. I even accused the staff of stealing from me as I angrily sought someone to blame. Eventually, I was simply overwhelmed by creditors. In the end, unable to cope, I applied for voluntary liquidation of the business. It was a massive humiliation. Everything was sold to pay our creditors. I lost everything, and more than 1,000 people lost their jobs. Although I still had other businesses that were successfully operating, I was very disturbed by what happened, and for a while I was quite depressed. Over the months and years that followed, I did many soul-searching postmortems to try to figure out why a business that had first appeared so successful could suddenly fail just like that. I know of many of you who have recently gone through what I'm talking about. You may even be going through it now. It is just the ultimate nightmare of every entrepreneur. As you start a business, the question of how you grow it into even a bigger business is really about management. After analyzing my own business as a case study, I concluded that I did not have sufficient management skills for what I wanted to achieve in my business life. At first, I thought to go back to university, but my circumstances at the time simply did not allow for a formal program. So I sent myself back to school. Of course, in those days, there was no internet or online courses. The MBA was a new concept. No one is born a good manager. It is an expertise you learn both through experience and education. People management, financial management, and marketing management are just three of the core courses that are essential to running a successful company. I became passionate about understanding money management. I would never take it for granted. I threw myself at learning all I could find on the subject. I wanted to understand how someone could make a simple hamburger which anyone can cook and turn it into a global business like McDonald's. Every night after work, I sat down and read books. When I traveled, I would lose myself in bookshops, always in the business management sections. What I learned, I tried to put in practice. I subscribed to magazines on business management. Soon I could do deep diagnostics of what happened in my business that failed. It did not happen overnight, let me tell you, in case you're thinking there is a silver bullet or someone laying hand on you and bang, you're an expert in business management. God has given each one of us a sound mind, and He wants us to use it. This is what it also means to study and show yourself approved. Gradually, systematically, I began to see the deficiencies and how to address them. I began to understand the tools that are used in management of a modern organization and how to use them skillfully. I cannot say I have fully apprehended, but I am consciously working on it. You cannot address a problem that you are not willing to accept exists. It starts there. If you want to manage your way to the top, analyze, read, ask the right questions, and don't be shy to benchmark yourself with the best in the world. Are you prepared to become very serious? When I was a young entrepreneur just beginning to enjoy the first flashes of success in my business career, I befriended a very successful businessman from my homeland. Ariston Chambati was a towering figure in his day. He was the nearest thing I ever had in those days to someone you would call a mentor today. He had already gained international recognition and often traveled to international meetings and served on several international boards. He would often say to me, "Master two things, your time and find the right person for a job. Get those two things right and you're on your way." He was a no-nonsense type and he did not suffer fools. If he invited you for a meeting, no matter what time of the day, he would turn up on time and well dressed. I will never forget how he once asked me to come see him late on a Sunday evening. Arriving at his home, I found him dressed up in his study. He never joked around and expected you to get to the point quickly. After the meeting, I asked him why he went to such great lengths ahead of such a simple meeting, even with me. His response was well measured and serious. He first explained to me a very painful experience he had gone through on one of his business travels. Then he added, "Young brother," he always used this term of endearment in my mother tongue, and I always addressed him by a similar term, which means senior brother. "You have the talent to go very far. Only remember this," he said. "Don't expect others to take you seriously when you are not prepared to take yourself seriously. When you walk through that door, I want you to always know that I am a serious person." Those words still ring in my ears over what must be 2 decades now, as though that conversation took place only yesterday. The men and women who are going to take Africa to the next level are those who are prepared to become serious. Very serious. End of chapter 9.